Hey, it's Liz DiAlto, and this is the Untamed the Wild Soul Woman podcast. From body image, sex, spirituality, money and relationships, to motherhood, creativity, business, communication, and desire, Untamed the Wild Soul Woman is the place to come for real stories and powerful advice to help you reclaim and redefine womanhood in the 21st century. What's up, wild loves? Today is Wednesday. It is March 23rd in real time. If you're listening to this, there is a full moon in Libra today. There has been an eclipse. We've been between two eclipses this month in March, so there has been some wild energy out there in the cosmos. So if you have felt kind of like a maniac lately, or if a lot of things have been bubbling up to the surface in your life and you're like, oh, why is all of this happening right now? Check out, we'll put links in the show notes. I love to look at mysticmama.com for whatever is going on in the astral calendar. And I also like to always stay in tune. Our past guest, Carrie Samuels, if you check out her Facebook page, I always like to go over there whenever I'm having like a really funky day, or it feels like, God, like this can't just be me, or I notice that a lot of people are talking about having similar type issues. I always like to check out what's going on in the cosmos because sometimes that can be affecting things. I certainly don't like to blame it for things, right? Like, I'm not one of those people who goes, Mercury's in retrograde, that's why my technology isn't working, or that's why all my communication is failing lately. I certainly don't like to blame things. I do believe in the power of choice. I do believe in, being able to actually control my destiny and choose my thoughts and my experience. But sometimes things do feel super overwhelming. And it's cool to see what's going around so that we can work with that energy rather than just like letting that energy work on us without necessarily making it a productive or a useful experience, right? Like if I got to feel pain, I would like to get something out of it. So before we dive into today's episode, I just want to let you know what's going on currently in the world of the wild soul, in the world of Untame Yourself. I was recently listening to a Tim Ferriss podcast interview where he interviewed a man named Derek Sivers, who I'd never heard of, but what an interesting guy. And he was talking about creating a now page on his website. And one of the things I realize sometimes is I don't always let you all know what's going on right now in the world and what you can be looking forward to. So I'm trying to get better about that. So I'm not just dropping things on you spontaneously or last minute, not giving you time to think about whether or not you want to engage in certain things. So a couple things we have going on right now. I still do have some one-on-one call spots available in my calendar between March and May. So if you want to hop on the phone one-on-one with me for a jam session on anything in your life that you want to just talk about, heal, resolve, transform, brainstorm if it's about business or anything like that, shoot us an email at hello@wildsoulmovement.com. Let us know that you want to book a one-on-one call, and we'll get you the information for that. We are halfway full at this point for our April Untame Yourself Weekend Intensive Retreat, which means in this moment, as of today, I have 6 spaces left. So that retreat is April 29th to May 1st. It's here in San Diego. It's going to be a super beautiful experience. If you want more information, you can apply at untameyourself.com/weekend-retreat. There's a reason why I have an application for those. I really like, it's such an intimate, deep experience. It's very important to me to connect with people one-on-one and share the details personally, how it works, what goes on, get to know you better. This way I know whether or not I actually want to invite you. You know whether or not it feels like a good fit, and we can just really have a phenomenal experience for those who end up attending. I also have this I'm running 3 of those this year. So the second one will be sometime in July. I'm finalizing that date this week. So I'll let you all know about that. Couple other things that are in the works. The print book, Untame Yourself. So many of you were like, I'm not a Kindle person, or I have the book on Kindle, but I really want to hold it in my hands. That is coming sometime in May. I'll also have a date for that sometime soon. And we'll probably do some fun stuff in the month of May anyway, because May is the anniversary month of when I launched Wild Soul Movement. And so it'll be 2 years this coming May. It's also, the print book is coming out. It'll also be sometime in May, our 100th episode for the podcast will happen. So I anticipate a lot of celebrations and cool things going on in May. I also am going to start doing monthly master classes. And so something I had been doing in the past was some free trainings, some webinars, some online workshops. I'm not really going to do those anymore. I'm going to do monthly master classes. It is going to be a paid experience. It'll be relatively inexpensive. And the reason why is because one of the things I noticed on the free workshops, I can only go so deep in the Q&A and in the answers I can give, because at a certain point, it puts me out of integrity with clients and customers and people in my programs who pay me for certain levels of advice. So to curate a group experience on a monthly basis surrounding a certain topic feels like a much better way to serve. And, for those of you who still just love listening to the podcast, aren't interested in investing in anything or going deeper, that's awesome. Keep listening to the podcast. Keep coming back. And if you have a question that would make a great episode, always know you can email us at hello@wildsoulmovement.com. We're always taking suggestions for those. The one trade-off is I can never guarantee how quickly your question will be turned into an episode. So speaking of which, on for today's question, which is super, super juicy. It's so good, which is, can guys and girls be friends? So this question actually was posted in the private group for my mentorship. And I decided to do a poll because one of the things that I'm just starkly aware of is, for me, my answers to certain questions just might not even relate to you sometimes because of my unique experience as a human being. I've done so much personal growth work on myself, so much spiritual work, energetic healing, all these different things, and also the way I live is quite unique sometimes. I live primarily in a community of mostly people who are entrepreneurs. We live alternative lifestyles. Any given day of the week, I can be meeting someone in the afternoon for a coffee, or deciding, like Michael and I did the other week, that we want to go on a road trip to Austin, Texas, and essentially take 4 or 5 days off. And I realized that my lifestyle does not necessarily correlate to other people's lifestyles. So I really, especially around this question, knowing how sensitive people are about all kinds of topics related to any kind of relationship, I wanted to get my finger on the pulse of the general public, if you will, or at least the general public that I have access to. So I took it to the best place to crowdsource information, and that is Facebook. And I posted it in a couple different groups. This question, can guys and girls be friends? I posted it on my public profile, can guys and girls be friends? And I noticed a couple different types of answers, and I wrote them down here so I wouldn't miss anything. There were some people who were just no. It doesn't work. It never works. Some kind of sexual tension or energy always gets involved. Or if they're in a relationship, it's just really funky and weird with their partner, if it's someone of the opposite sex. And so that was one camp. There were a lot of people who said, it really depends. It really depends on what's the history. Have we ever had any romantic involvement? Are they in a relationship? Am I in a relationship? There seem to be a lot of factors involved, a lot of limiting factors. And then there were other people who were yeah, of course, hell yeah. Some of my best friends are of the opposite sex. But there was also context. So it was super interesting. For some people, it was my ex and I are, much better friends than we ever were lovers. Or my best guy friends, coming from a woman, these are guys that I've known since college, or these are guys that I've known since growing up and they're like my brothers. And other people had, other various contexts. So on top of all of those different camps, I want to offer you from my perspective, can guys and girls be friends? And my answer is of course. And it's not only of course, but it's that to have healthy friendships with people in your life of the opposite sex, and this isn't really a gender issue. This isn't based on, how you identify in gender. I think we all need a diversity of friendships. We need people in our lives who are like us so we can feel seen, met, heard, not alone. We need people in our lives who are so different so we could be reminded at the broad spectrum of humanity, right? I think we need people in our lives, for those of us that are wildly emotional, we need those structured left brain people sometimes to keep us in check. One of the things I love about my mom, she's a great critical thinker. I really value that in times when I'm having trouble focusing and being critical about something, and I'm hey, can you help me think something through? We just need so many different types of people in our life because we are only us, right? And it's so valuable to have other perspectives. The other thing is this. I think energetically, whether you're in a relationship or not, it's super important to be able to have agreements with your partner. I think so for the people who said, no, men and women can't be friends, there's always sexual tension, or, I had male friends and then when they got in relationships, their girlfriends were uncomfortable with me. If you're listening to this show, you're probably a person who's open and available for the possibility that a lot of the cultural programming we have about women can't trust women, or men are only out to have sex with you. Like, I remember this Chris Rock skit from his first hour, at least his first hour that I ever listened to. I remember having the CD in high school. It was called Bigger and Blacker. And I remember during part of it, he was just talking about like women, the Chris Rock voice. I can't really do the impersonation, but it's like, men are always trying to fuck you, right? It's like, oh, let me get that door for you. How about some dick, right? Oh, let me pick that up for you. How about some dick, right? And so that's really like the cultural norm. A lot of us think that if a guy does anything nice for you, we're always judging it. Well, what does he want in return? And so I invite you to let that go because it's just not always the case. And if it is, and if you feel uncomfortable, then of course, address it. We talk about this all the time. I love to see this in the Untame Yourself Facebook group. So many of you are using the framework from my book to go out and have those courageous conversations with people in your lives. And so maybe it takes a courageous conversation with a friend to say something like, hey, I feel a little sexual tension and it's a little awkward and uncomfortable for me. I don't know if you share it, but I'd love to resolve that so we could just like be friends and it could feel clean and comfortable. Maybe you just get to have some of those conversations with people. I think having agreements in your own partnerships, one of the things with Michael and I that has really stretched me because in my experience, I had dated people who sometimes were friends with their exes, and sometimes I was really uncomfortable with it because you know when people have another kind of agenda, when you can't trust people. So trust is a thing, but the fact is a lot of people really are trustworthy. And in fact, it's so amazing. So there are times when I'm not necessarily entirely emotionally available for Michael because I've got my own stuff going on, or vice versa. So it's cool, like if I need some man energy in my life, to be able to have other safe places where I can take that. And in fact, it's not only cool to have that for me, but it's awesome for him because there isn't all of the pressure on him to be every single thing I need in a man, right? Like our relational needs can be met over the expanse of like many humans, not just one human, right? So many people have like a best friend. I go to my best friend for everything. I don't really have a best friend. I have a lot of really close friends. I have a lot of people in like my inner circle. And then I have a lot of people in like the circle outside of that maybe I don't share as much personal information with, or maybe I don't go as deep with. And for me, that's the healthy way to relate to people. Some people like to have a lot of friends. Some people like to go really deep with a lot of people. Personally, I would rather keep that narrow. I'd rather go deeper with fewer people and have that certain level of intimacy with fewer people. And whether that's a man or a woman, for me, it doesn't really... That factors in sometimes, and often it just really doesn't. So it's a matter of looking at, in your emotional landscape, in the relational landscape of your life, where are they gaps? And would they be better filled by a man, in your opinion, or by a woman, in your opinion? And then what's also interesting is how different and how complex and amazing and unique men and women can be anyway. So maybe you're wanting some masculine energy, but you have a female friend with a lot of masculine energy and you can get that from her. Maybe you're wanting someone who's like more artistic and creative. Well, that doesn't necessarily have to be a woman. That could be a man. So my answer to this question is yes, of course. In fact, I think it's necessary. And in order to determine where you can get the greatest value in your life in friendships with people of the opposite sex, take an inventory of what are the relationships in your life, how do they nourish you, and where are there areas where you're not nourished with friendships and relationships. And then as you meet people, like new people in your life coming in, or maybe old people who you want to rekindle connections with, they're a hell yes because they fill those needs that you have. Or maybe they're a no because you already have plenty of people or the perfect amount of that type of energy or relationship or friendship in your life right now already. So that's my answer. As always, if you want to continue this conversation, come on over to the private Facebook group. It's a closed group, which means that your friends, family, and coworkers cannot see what you write in there unless they're in the group too. So it's untameyourself.com/Facebook. If you have a question that you would like to submit for a future Ask Elizabeth episode, go ahead and email it to hello@wildsoulmovement.com. And to remind you, just to circle back from what I shared in the beginning, we have some masterclasses coming up. There are still spaces available for my April retreat here in San Diego, and there are still some one-on-one coaching call spots available as well. For any of that information, you can always reach out to hello@wildsoulmovement.com, and we'll set you up with whatever it is that you are looking for. So thank you, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Failure is like built in to dieting, and these weight loss corporations who are creating these dependency models, right? Like take Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, Dr. Bernstein, all of those. They're actually creating a dependency model. So it's like, pay us and you can stay skinny, but we're not going to teach you actually how to eat for health and hunger. We're going to, because we don't want you to learn how to do it by yourself, God forbid, because we want to tell you what to eat, how to eat, when to eat, what to do, blah blah blah. We want to tell you all this and micromanage you and put you into this little box where everything's so controlled. But then as soon as you stop paying us, you're out of there and you can just go eat whatever you want. That's dangerous, not only on a physical level but on an emotional level.